Hello and welcome to this Astranti video where I'll be going through the top 10 most likely unseen issues for the operational level case study exams May and August 2021. So before we get into the top 10 issues themselves, I'll start by talking about the basis of our choice of these top 10 issues. Now of course this is just going to be our best guess. We haven't seen the exams, we don't know for sure what is going to come up. Instead, based on our knowledge of the pre-seen company and our experience of previous exam sittings, we've made our best guess as to what the top 10 issues might be. So of course it's not going to be foolproof and you should treat the list accordingly. So for instance, an issue like marketing isn't going to be in our top 10 list this time around, but nonetheless it is still potentially an examinable topic. So this is just our focus on, again, the top 10 most likely. So in terms of the way we've specifically chosen these top 10 issues, the first criteria for inclusion in this top 10 list has been the level of focus given to the relevant issue in the pre-seen. So that is to say, CIMA designed the pre-seen in such a way, of course, to inform the questions and the scenarios that you'll be given in your exam. So if it seems like CIMA have devoted a lot of space in the pre-seen to an issue or included some relevant information related to an issue, then this does indicate or signpost that these topics might be something that come up in the exam. And related to this idea is the degree of importance attached to the various topics by the examiner. So that is to say, some key points from the pre-seen are going to be more likely to come up. And if you'd like to know more about what the key points in the pre-seen might be, then feel free to refer back to the pre-seen analysis video. So if something gets a lot of attention in the pre-seen document and it seems important, then it is more likely to come up in your exam. The next criterion for being included in the top 10 list is that of strategic importance. If an issue relates to the pre-seen company's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, or threats, then it's going to be relevant to its strategy going forward. Therefore, it's likely to come up in the exam as, of course, it's going to be of great importance to the company. If you'd like to see a SWOT analysis of the pre-seen company for this exam sitting, then please refer back to the strategic analysis video. Another way we can assess the strategic importance of an issue in relation to the company is by the information we're given about the company's directors in the pre-seen. So again, the interests of the company's directors will signpost areas of interest for the business overall, and again, potentially the exam. On top of this, again, we have our own experiences. So issues that have been frequently examined in past exams could be indicative that they will continue to be examined in future ones. And similarly, issues that come up time and time again in previous exams, again, more likely to come up in future exams. And related to both of these ideas is the ease with which a topic can be written about and therefore examined on. If it's easier to write an exam question based on a specific type of concept or issue, then the examiner is more likely to choose these topics and therefore they're more likely to come up in your exam. So ease of examination is another criterion for inclusion in our top 10 list. So this is the basis of our choice of the list that I'll be going through in a moment. So before we go through the list itself, I'll give you a quick word on how you can use this video to help you to prepare for the exam itself, the way you can apply these ideas. So one way is to prepare key models and look at key theory in relation to the pre-seen document that you've been provided with. So by looking at these issues in light of the CIMA syllabus and the models within it, this can help you to prepare responses to questions that could be likely to come up in your exam. But a word of warning, if you do use this approach in your revision, you must adapt any pre-prepared material, any ideas you have in advance, according to the information given to you in the unseen, that is the exam. The case study exam is all about the way you apply your existing CIMA knowledge. So anything you do in preparation for that exam, you must use this as background knowledge, and then you apply this background knowledge to the information you're given on the day. Something else that it's important to do as preparation for your case study exam is to sit mock exams that cover the key issues that we've highlighted in the top 10 list. The more practice you have at answering exam questions that are related to topics likely to come up in your exam, the better prepared you'll be on the day of that test. Additionally, finding relevant real-life examples are something you should consider, as examiners really like this. So having this real world backing to any arguments or suggestions you make in the exam can lend real credibility to your answers and to those arguments. It's something the examiner likes to see. Additionally, learning the typical key points is typically an effective way to revise. So some issues, such as, for instance, the pros and cons of different approaches to budgeting, while the pros and cons of different budgeting systems are just the pros and cons of those budgeting systems. So it's worth learning the advantages and disadvantages of different topics, different areas of content that come up again and again. Lastly, when it comes to the issues that I'll be talking about in this video, it's important to be prepared for any models that are applicable to those issues, so that when you discuss the issue in the exam, you can then apply that model to back up your arguments and bring in more theory from the CIMA syllabus, as again, the examiners like to see you applying your existing knowledge. So consider the issues in light of any models or any specific syllabus content that they relate to, and remember to apply that knowledge so you can get the highest mark possible. So, with this introductory section out of the way, let's now go through each of our top 10 issues. Now, these top 10 issues are all of equal importance. It's not a ranked list. So bear that in mind as we go through each of them one by one, starting with risk and uncertainty. So why risk and uncertainty? Well, the basis of our choice is first of all because this is a key P1 topic, and as such, it is examined very regularly. And in fact, it forms the bulk of CIMA's core activity E, which in general constitutes between 17 and 25% of the content of case study exams. So it's a solid bet that risk and uncertainty related concepts will come up. And in what form is it likely to come up? In the context of Accelerate, in the context of the May and August 2021 exam sitting. Well, you could be asked to conduct a risk analysis of a new investment, a new strategy, or a new project. So anything new that the company is undertaking, it'll want to weigh up the likelihood that things will turn out well or turn out poorly. Alternatively, you could be asked to measure risk in a particular area of the business. So rather than something new, considering the risks in relation to something the organisation is already doing. And then lastly, you could be asked to provide insight on the decision-making process. So by giving information to management regarding the risks of various different courses of action, you can then help them to inform that decision in light of things like, for instance, the company's appetite for risk. So when it comes to Accelerate, given that the company is wanting to expand by offering new services and also expand into new markets, it's very likely that it's going to be taking on some form of new investment, strategy or project. On top of this, there are various different areas of the business where you could well be asked to measure risk. So these could range from, for instance, the risk that the risk cars in the company's fleet will fall in value and the consequences this might have for the organisation, as an example of a particular existing area of the business that is exposed to risk in this way. So when it comes to the key points to raise in the exam in relation to risk and uncertainty, there are a number of key risks highlighted in the preceding document. So first of all, there are a number of large competitors in the car rental industry. So this is a strategic risk for the company. It needs to consider how it can overcome this risk by maintaining a competitive edge over these large entities. Again, something I highlighted a moment ago is the expansion into new markets and by offering new services. So by stepping outside of the company's comfort zone, so to speak, it is taking on risk by doing so. So this could be a risk that should first of all be identified and then ideally quantified using your knowledge of P1. And then lastly, there is the risk of the disposal of risk cars, that is cars the company owns, and it takes on risk because the value of these cars can fall and therefore it can receive a payment from disposing of these risk cars that was much less than expected, which will of course harm its profit margins. So by looking at these risks in more detail, we can consider their precise nature, the significance of the risks, and then relate these risks to the risk attitude of the company. So a company with a risk attitude that is more risk-seeking, it will be appropriate for that company to take on, of course, higher levels of risk. Meanwhile, a risk-averse company is going to want to only take decisions and invest in new things that bring a lower likelihood of things going wrong. One more key point to raise in the context of risk and uncertainty is the application of decision models. So if there are a number of already clearly defined options, and we can look at the various expected payoffs of those options. There are various models given to us in P1 that can be used to determine which option would be more appropriate or most appropriate. So when you are actually applying these models and using them in the exam, you do need to make sure that you explain how these models actually deal with the uncertainty in the situation. So not just using the model to make a decision, but also explaining the rationale behind that model. So in terms of the specific relevant theory, again, this is chiefly a P1 topic, and there's a wide range of things that play into risk and uncertainty from P1. So the first being sensitivity analysis in this list, that is the sensitivity of a budget to any changes in the variables. For instance, how sensitive would the budget be in response to a rise in a given cost? Additionally, there are expected values, so computing the long-run average expected outcome from a given situation, given the values of the various outcomes and their associated probabilities. Related to expected values, we also have decision trees, so a way of visually representing the various decisions an organisation can make, and also looking at the expected values associated with these different decisions. So we can look at all of these and determine which could be the most appropriate. Standard deviations is a way of quantifying risk, so more formula-based. So in general, the greater the standard deviation, the greater the risk. And then having identified the standard deviation of a project, for instance, we could then relate this back to the company's risk attitude. A company that is more risk-seeking is going to be happier to accept projects with a greater standard deviation. But risk attitude can be applied to any measurement of risk, but that's just one example. Additionally, in terms of risk-based decisions, 3 models that come up in P1 are maxi-min, maxi-max, and mini-max regret. So different ways we can look at the various different expected outcomes of a project or a decision, and then decide which one would be the most appropriate. And each of these models involves dealing with uncertainty in a slightly different way. Additionally, we also have payoff tables, so a summarization of a project's various different possible outcomes. And by looking at these tables, again, we can make risk-based decisions. So all of this being relevant theory to the topics of risk and uncertainty, which, as we've seen, is quite likely to come up as a key part of CIMA's core activity E. So moving on to issue number 9, and that is cost accounting. So the basis of our choice of cost accounting is first of all because it's a key P1 topic. And additionally, there's a lot of relevant information to cost accounting given to us in the pre-scene. For instance, we're given a breakdown of the various costs on a per car basis, we're given a lot of information on the company's fleet operating costs, and we're also told that the company runs an app. So we're not told much about the costs in relation to this app, but it could be more information that could be given to us in the unseen that would follow on from us being told about that app. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. So this is why we've chosen it. So what about the likely issues that could come up in relation to Acellerate and this topic of cost accounting? Well, first of all, we can consider the applicability of costing systems to this company. So we're not actually explicitly told which costing system it is that the company is using. However, it does look like it is using absorption costing. As in various points throughout the pre-scene, we're told that costs are apportioned to the company's different ranges of car based on the number of cars in these ranges. In the unseen, an issue that could come up could be the proposal of an alternative costing system, most likely activity-based costing. In addition to the applicability of costing systems, there is also the issue of digital product costing for the company's app. So this is why I raised the issue of the company having an app. It's because digital product costing is part of P1 and could easily be applied in this context. So what about the key points for you to raise in relation to these issues? Well, first of all, if we're considering the applicability of the current costing system or an alternative, then we should of course consider the pros and the cons of these costing systems. So the pros of activity-based costing and its cons, the pros of absorption costing and its cons, for instance. Additionally, we should also look at the cost behaviour of the company's different costs. So we were told early on in the pre-scene that the cleaning and maintenance costs increase with the rental frequency. That is, after each rental, the cars are cleaned and the cars are inspected. So the more rentals are taken out, or rather the more frequently an individual vehicle is rented, the greater the cleaning and maintenance cost that vehicle is going to incur for the company. However, when it comes to the company's fleet operating costs, we're told that the maintenance and repair costs and cleaning costs in terms of consumables and parts vary directly with the number of cars. So less to do with the rental frequency, but just the sheer number of vehicles. So changes in cost, it seems, can arise both based on the company's fleet size, that is the number of cars, and also the type of car. Another instance where the type of car has an influence is to do with other costs such as insurance. That is, more expensive vehicles like the prestige vehicles are going to have greater insurance costs, as well as more expensive repairs and more expensive road tax, as we're told in the pre-scene. Lastly, one more note in terms of cost behaviour, and that is that we're told that the company's cleaning and maintenance costs have both a fixed component and also a variable component. So this is something to consider in your exam answers too. Additionally, a key point in terms of the company's app is the difficulties in costing digital products in general, which is again part of the P1 syllabus. So to talk more on the point of relevant theory that you can apply to these issues, the first is cost and cost behaviour. So as I touched upon a moment ago, there is the fixed and variable components of the company's maintenance and cleaning costs. But speaking more generally, you should revise costs and cost behaviour from P1 and then apply this to whichever specific cost is in question based on the information given to you in the exam. Additionally, more relevant theory would be marginal and absorption costing. As I've mentioned, it seems like the company is currently using absorption costing, although this is not explicitly stated. So marginal costing is there if that is potentially proposed as an alternative costing system under consideration, and then activity-based costing is there for the same reason. Activity-based costing is often referenced in case study exams as a proposed alternative to absorption costing. So we're currently using this system, but why not use ABC? And therefore revising this costing system and its pros and cons would be a good idea too. Additionally, when it goes back to digital costing, then of course the theory relating to digital costing in P1 would be a good revision point as well. So various aspects of cost accounting that are likely to come up based on what we can infer and what we already know from the pre-scene. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you found it useful. I'd just like to take a moment to talk about some of the different case study products we offer here at Astranti. All of these products are available together as a package as part of our case study course. However, they can also be purchased individually. So we have our exam technique series, which comprises both a study text and a video series. So in this product, we'll teach you how to plan your answers, analyse the case study material, and manage your time in the exam. So all of these are vital skills that you need to have to make sure you don't miss out on any marks. We also have our theory revision series, which again is both a study text and a series of videos. So these talk about specific theories relevant to your case study exam. These are all topics that are frequently tested, and so this part of our course is directly tailored to the exams that you will be sitting. Additionally, we have our pre-scene analysis. So as part of this, there will be a video that goes through the pre-scene document point by point to discuss the most important aspects that you need to know ahead of your exam. Additionally, there will be a video that will talk about the top 10 most likely unseen issues that are likely to come up in the exam. Plus, we have the strategic analysis video. This will be talking about the key models taken from the CIMA syllabus and then discuss how they apply directly to the case study that you will be looking at. We also have our industry analysis, a comprehensive document that looks at the different aspects of the real-world industry that the case study company operates within. So this will give you everything from an overview of the history of the industry to any issues relating to corporate social responsibility and protecting the environment, analysis of real-world competitors to the case study company, and overall trends in that industry. It will also provide 25 real-world industry issues that can be used as examples in the exam. In addition to this document, there is also an accompanying video. We also provide mock exams, which are based on past case study exams, and also based on the exact case study that you will be tested on. Therefore, they are designed to be as close as we possibly can get them to the actual exam you will be sitting. We also offer marking and feedback. So if you purchase this, you'll get a tutor to go through your exam script, tell you if you would have passed your exam, and also tell you what you could have done better going forward. You'll also get comments on your exam technique, so all the different things to help you get as prepared as possible for sitting the real thing. We also offer question packs, so if you'd like to practice a specific part of the CIMA syllabus, you can look at a question pack directly tailored to that area, so you can get that vital practice in ahead of your exam. We also offer 2 all-day masterclasses, one at the start of the course and one at the end. So the first one will be covering how to plan effectively ahead of your exam. Then the second is a revision masterclass, which will be going through all the material that you've been learning throughout your studies to give you a nice refresher before sitting that exam. So head over to www.astranti.com for more information about all of these case study products. Until then, I'd like to take the chance to wish you all the best of luck for your case study exam.